Once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over. My next guest has spent more than 3 decades practicing pediatric and adolescent medicine, as well as counseling teens and their parents. She's a regular contributor to LifeSet.com, and her latest book concerns the crucial relationship between fathers and their kids. It's called Hero: Being the Strong Father Your Children Need. Welcome back to the program, Dr. Meg Meeker.
Oh, thank you.
So great to
nice
have
to
you
be here,
back.
Raymond. Yeah.
I want to start with this thing. Why are dads so important and so determinative in the outcome of their children and how they'll grow up?
Well, you know, I could cite a lot of research for you, and I do put it in the book.
You do?
Yes, and so I really wanted to do that right up front. But everybody who's been a child knows how huge dad is. You either have a huge father wound, or you have this adoration for your father. But kids are tied to their fathers really with a gold cord, and from the moment they're born, they have a huge need to have dad protect them, and they want to trust him and give them love. And it's very different from a mother's love.
Yeah. Well, you talk about in the book how we expect our fathers to be the hero and the protector and the example for us. Why are men, dads, reluctant to step into that role?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, it's a great question. I think they've been pummeled. If you look at the media, and it's really happened over the past 30 years, but if you look at the media and you look at the way they've been portrayed, they're dummies, they're the butt of jokes, they need a snarky 11-year-old to straighten them out. And even though we say, well, that's just TV, but it has a big effect. In addition to that, you've got the women's movement over the past 30 years has championed women so heavily that good fathers have just sort of drifted into the background. You know, whenever you fight a revolution, which feminism is a revolution, there are casualties.
Yeah.
And the casualties, unfortunately, are our dads. And as a pediatrician, I just see how critically important fathers are. And I said, this is my Meg Meeker answer to beginning to get our dads really engaged with their kids again.
What do you tell fathers, and some might be watching, who had abusive fathers or absent fathers?
Yes.
They don't have a vibrant model that they can remember personally.
Yes.
You would advise what?
Yes. Well, I tell them, I work with the NFL, and a lot of those men, they recruited me for that reason, because a lot don't have dads. The first and foremost thing I say is you need to reconcile what you wanted from your dad and you didn't get. You have to do that so you don't carry it into your future. And then I talk to them about God the Father. Will you allow God the Father now to direct you? And then I say you can overcome all of that. And great parenting, Raymond, is simple, but it's so hard. And then when you point that out, they're off and running, and they're amazing. So anybody can be a great dad because God wired him with everything he needs.
You write that children feel the need to earn a father's love. How does that translate to the dad, and what's the lesson and the takeaway for him?
Yeah, and what I try to do in Hero is fathers will say, well, I'm not a hero, you should see all the messed up. I said, no. From your child's perspective, you are. So this is a book about unveiling how a child sees a father. So a child sees a father as having a different authority than mother. Every child believes, now this is, again, what goes on in a child's head. Every child believes mom has to love you. She's mom. Because if mom doesn't love you, why live? You know, mom is where love starts and ends, and she's the anchor in your life. But in their minds, fathers don't have to love you. You know, and when a dad chooses to love you, boy, are you something. I don't know where it comes from, Raymond, but all I know is I've seen it over and over and over, and that's why fathers need to understand that what they do and say with their kids changes who those kids become.
And a big part of this, you write about this in the book, it's not doing anything spectacular.
No.
It's the power of presence.
Exactly. And I tell a lot of stories there. You know, so many fathers now feel they need to jump through so many hoops to get it right. They're so afraid they're going to get wrong. And I'm there to tell them, you're not going to get it wrong. Love them fiercely. You know, you can make your mistakes. Make sure, live a good life in front of them. I talk about leading and not coaching their kids.
Right, what does that mean, leading, not coaching?
Yeah. Well,
people see that and go, well,
what is this? You can tell I work with the NFL.
A lot of NFL players
I did that on purpose.
I felt very small after
No. So, but really, a coach sits on the sidelines and says, go do this, and go do this, and go do this, and bosses the kids around and tells them what to do. A leader walks in front of the child, shows them how to live, and says, follow me.
And you say kids are great mimics, and it's important to model
They
behavior.
mimic everything. They're doing it all the time. So what a dad needs to realize is he's mimicking me, so what is he seeing and what is he mimicking?
Mm-hmm. Talk for a second about what girls need and expect from their father, and what does the data tell us that they glean from their father that they need for the rest of their lives?
They need a sense of value. They need a sense that they're worth something. They need protection, and they tell us this. You know, the series Twilight, wildly popular with pre-adolescent girls, and they say, you know, somebody polled them because they want someone in their own lives to protect them and love them like the main character. Isn't he a werewolf? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's a vampire.
He's a vampire, sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but a glistening, very buff vampire.
So in other words, girls will do anything to get attention and affection from a man, and if they don't get it at home, they will look for it anywhere, even if it's not real. And fathers during the teenage years are so hesitant to move into the daughters' lives because they take them personally. They think, well, she doesn't like me, she yells at me, she tells me she doesn't want to be with me. So they back out. Exact wrong thing to do.
Okay, what do you tell the father whose daughter slams the door at him and Princess doesn't want to talk to him, and so he gives in to her often? You would say what?
No, don't do that. Here's what I say. Trust your instincts. Your instincts will say, she's in trouble. I need to stand my ground here. And if you don't take your daughter personally, you can deal with the slamming doors. When your daughter spits fire and doesn't want to hug you and is slamming doors, it has nothing to do with you, Dad. It's everything to do with her. So don't take her personally. Stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to continue to follow her, continue to talk to her, go into a room and say, you know what, I just love you too much to renege on this rule. Sorry, you can't go out with that guy. That's what my dad did with me, and I didn't talk to him for 4 days. But I'll tell you, years later,
it was the best thing for you.
It was the best thing. I always also tell dads this: if you're in a situation where you're really ready to give in and do something you know you shouldn't do or allow your daughter to, think of when she's 25. Do you want her to look at you and say, Dad, what were you thinking? Why did you let me go to that party and drink? Where were you?
Yeah.
So think of it that way. I believe, Raymond, men want to protect their daughters, but they're beaten down.
Well, the culture has told us you don't want to be an authoritarian. You're an authoritarian. You're a patriarch. We don't want that. We don't want that.
Yeah.
And that has made men reluctant to be that authority figure. And you say they have to be.
They have to be. They have to act on their God-given instincts, and that's how they win their kids. But look what's happening with children. I mean, kids out there, we have a crisis, Raymond. We have a crisis.
You mean the sexualized culture that we're dealing with?
The sexualized culture, but also the fathers who have faded into the background because mothers can't be two people. They can only be one great mom. So they need to recruit help, whether they have a son or a daughter, for a male role model to say, this is what a good man looks like.
And you recommend praying with your kids, even if you're not a particularly religious person. Why?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because kids love it. Kids are more open to God, first of all, than parents are. That's just a reality. Kids will tell me things like they see angels and they do this, and their parents will go, oh, stop that. And I go, no, let her talk, let her talk. But praying with your child, first of all, lets your child know you care and you love him. And even if the child says, I don't want a prayer, praying out loud for your child makes him feel safe and comfortable, and it also brings that child closer to God. It brings God into the picture, and there's an intimacy in prayer that a parent shares with a child. It's really hard to be estranged from a child and pray with them. You can't. So it closes those gaps, and then God does amazing things.
Yeah, well, I love that you talk about prayer. You also talk about reading to and with your children, which is a big passion of mine. I just think it bonds you in a way. You're sharing a fictional experience, but you're also sharing your life experience with one another.
It's so intimate. It's face-to-face time. I quote a study in there. It says fathers who read to children whose fathers read to them from 6 months of age on test significantly higher on IQ tests at 3 than children whose fathers don't. I said, well, why? Why is this? Well, we think it's because fathers speak differently to their kids. They don't use as much baby language. Mothers do. Yeah. But fathers use a full word. Yeah.
And so it gives the kids a different, it broadens their vocabulary. And
let me tell you.
The tenor of Dad's voice is different.
Yes, and when a dad shows a child he wants to be with him and spend time with him, what does that do to a child's self-esteem? They feel larger than life. And you and I know men in their mid-40s and 50s who are still trying to prove to their dad they made it.
Yeah.
That love and need for attention and admiration and from your father is so primal. It's so strong. It really drives very smart men in the workplace.
Your final message to dads in our final moments. What do they absolutely need? And we were talking about reading books. This is one you absolutely, particularly you dads or new fathers or old fathers, you need this.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're having difficulties with your kids.
Absolutely.
A lot of practical strategies here. What would be your overarching message to them?
I would say that you are larger in your child's life than you ever imagine. And if you sit behind your child's eyes and see who you are, which was what Hero is all about, your life will never be the same. And you got everything you need today to be a great dad.
Dr. Meg Meeker, thank you for being here. We are going to do an extended segment with Dr. Meeker. You can see that online. I'll tweet it and Facebook it out. But the book is Hero, Being the Strong Father Your Children Need by Dr. Meeker. It is available now at bookstores everywhere and online and worth your time. It's your children's future. You have to invest in it. And all it takes many times is showing up.